This is our story. I run a nonprofit wellness education center, and I'm a single mom. My son is diagnosed with high-functioning autism, Asperger's, and ADHD, which means he is a really sweet kid. He's very bright, and he's got a lot of energy, and I love him. So a year ago, when he was 14 and we were just getting ready for him to start high school, we were at a town event, a picnic in the park. And we were surrounded by about 500 families in our community. We were picnicking with friends, having fun, when suddenly the police came running through the park, picked up my son without even breaking a beat, and ran off. I looked at my friends, I picked up my son's service dog and ran after them. By the time I'd caught up with them, they had my son in a gazebo at the edge of the park. He was handcuffed, and a cop was yelling at him, "Tell us everything, just help us and it'll be easier on you. Tell it," just like yelling at him. And there was a wall of, seemed huge, cops barricading me. They wouldn't let me get to him. They kept saying, "Go back to your party, ma'am. There's nothing for you to see here. This has nothing to do with you. Go back to your party, ma'am. Turn around, go back to your party." And I was like trying to break through to them saying, "That is my son. I'm his mother. That's my son. He's special needs. This is his service dog. Let me through to my son." It felt like forever. And that was the start of our craziest night. We were held there in the park for nearly an hour while all of our neighbors were just gathered and were staring at us, and the police wouldn't tell us what had happened. They kept yelling at my son, and I wouldn't let him talk to them. And then they'd yell at me for not letting him talk to them. And eventually they took us into the police station, where we went through 6 hours of interrogation. They treated us like criminals, like terrorists. And they wouldn't even tell us why we were there. Finally, at the end of 6 hours of being yelled at, cursed at, it was crazy, the detective in charge informed me that Xander was going to juvenile detention because he was under arrest for assaulting, beating up, and raping a little girl. And he said my son did this multiple times while we were picnicking with our friends. And I looked at my very confused son, who didn't know what this officer was talking about. And I looked at his pristine white shorts and his white t-shirt, and the fact that he didn't have any abrasions or dirt or leaves or scuff marks or anything on him. And this police officer kept saying he dragged her into the bushes and rolled around in the dirt and beat her up and raped her, and then he went back to playing with children, and then he did it again. I'm like, there's no way. Like, does this detective even have the ability to see what's in front of him? So it took me another 15 minutes of arguing with the detective before he would even tell me where this detention center was. And then for the next few months, we fought to get my son out of jail and get his name cleared in court. We later learned that at that point, the SANE examination officials had already gotten preliminary results back to the detective. When he sent my son to jail, he knew that my son was innocent. They tried to send my son to jail for a lifetime sentence tried as an adult. And the police, of course they had no evidence, so they didn't even bother building a case file. They were trying to push this through the court system on their word that there was a case. When my son was shackled again and put in the sheriff's car and driven to the detention center that night, and I was standing in the parking lot watching the car drive away, the detective walked up to me and he said, "You're a low-rent, white trash, single mom with a retarded kid. What are you even going to do to us? We're going to make sure your son gets 27 years to life for this, and there ain't nothing you can do about it." And he turned around and walked back into the police station. And that is what they tried to do. This is why this book is so important. Because in researching for my son's rights and trying to find out how on earth could this happen, like there's no way you can plan for something like this, I also learned how many other children with autism spectrum who are in the same or worse situations. And I saw that they need our help. This didn't just happen to us, this is happening. It's happening all through our country, and we just happen to be the next person that it washed up upon, that it affected. And before this affects more and more and more children, we need to stand up and educate our country, educate our communities, that children with autism are just children, that people are just people, and they need to be treated that way.